So, good afternoon, everybody. Say hi to everyone. Wave back. So, welcome to the fourth talk of the Digital Foods 2021 series. And today we'll focus on Africa. So before we start, let's have a first poll question to understand, to learn about our audience today. Bianca, can you pull up the first poll? So the first poll question is about what is your interest joining today's session? What is your interest in the digitization of agriculture in Africa? So while you're filling up the poll question, introduction, my name is Tiffany Tsui. I'm the co-organizer and moderator of this Digital Food 2021 series. I'm Chinese, I'm Dutch, I'm living in the Netherlands. I focus on sustainability, technology, and transformation, and bridging East with West. Together with Dick Veerman, founder of Foodlog, we developed the concept of the Digital Food 2021 to focus on the theme of connect. So connecting data, technology, and strategy, and connecting people, ideas, and regions. I would like to first also thank you for the sponsors, that you can see behind me, including ktba, InfoSupport, SyncForce, City of Rotterdam, Province Zuid-Holland, Greenport West-Holland, Leiden, Delft, Erasmus University, and Wageningen University. So today we have an exciting African-Dutch panel with 4 speakers. I will introduce them one by one. We'll shed light on the cooperation between the Netherlands and Africa, and the topic is agronomy, so breeding of locally adapted varieties. That's where we'll start with Jan Robben. And then we'll go into discussion of the importance of agro communities in Africa and how can we improve trading with international and also intra-Africa trade through better technology, digitization, traceability, and crypto development. To start, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Jan Robben. He is an agronomist with Flavorberry, and Dick Veerman called him the flying strawberry maker because he's an expert flying around the world and passing on the knowledge of growing strawberries all around the world, which include, I think, the countries you travel, including China, Canada, and now Africa. So please take over and then tell us your experience of actually working in Africa and then sharing your knowledge with African communities on growing strawberries.
Okay, thank you, Tiffany, for introducing me. Very good. And Dick Veerman knows me very good, I hear. I will tell something about my adventures in Africa. I start with the period before COVID-19 started. I was already coaching strawberry growers around the world, like Tiffany said, since 2015, after I sold my own strawberry company. So already 6 years I'm working as a consultant and agronomist. Germany, China, Canada, a lot of other countries I was, since 2019, I'm already involved in a project in Rwanda. Via AgriTerra, I came there. And before COVID, it was usual to make a combination of visits and also remote coaching. I think without visits, it's a little difficult, but good. Last year we couldn't do different. When I started with Rwanda, I got a question. I got sometimes a question: is there a market for strawberries in Rwanda? And I can say yes, because now every year they import more than 200 tons of strawberries in Rwanda. Now the first visit in Rwanda was in October 2019. I traveled to Rwanda for the first impression. I was never in Africa. There I conducted the training about growing strawberries for farmers, cooperatives, and agronomists. And together we decided to start a trial. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, after my first visit, we had frequently contact with via Agriterra about the preparation of the trial fields, and in the same time, Flevoberry, the breeding company from Holland, they organized 5,000 plants to do the trials at 2 locations and of 2 varieties. We didn't have experience with our varieties in Africa and in that climate zone. We made fertilizing schedules for the farmers based on their soil analysis. And then my second travel to Rwanda was 1 year ago, end of February 2020. And the plants, the 5,000 plants arrived 2 days later. So I helped to plant the trials together with the people, with the farmers, so I could give them instructions in the field to make a good start. But that was just before COVID started. And after planting, we had weekly contact, sometimes daily, by WhatsApp or email or Teams or everything. They asked me questions, they sent me pictures, and I gave them feedback. And so we tried to improve the first trials. Next slide, please. Now, the first trials were very successful. It was, of course, it was only 2 small fields, but we didn't have experience. So we had to look, is it possible with Dutch varieties? The quality was very good, and the farmers got a very good price. It was 3 times higher than they what they got before from their local strawberries. The farmers and also me were very happy with the support of the Rwandan government. They are also involved in the project, and they follow they follow what's happening at the fields. They see it as a great opportunity for Rwandan farmers. And because it was very successful, they wanted to expand the strawberry area for this year, and they ordered 70,000 plants, so it's 1,400% more than the first trial. And that plants would be shared over 5 cooperatives. In the beginning, we had 2 cooperatives, and now 5. And also in different regions of Rwanda. So in the whole country now are strawberries. Next slide, please. Due to COVID, visits were not possible anymore since we planted the trials. Every week we have online contact until now, photos, questions, feedback, and that's all is, we do that via the business advisor from the local Agriterra organization. They are also have an office in Kigali. Then before, as a preparation of the next batch of plants, which should arrive in last February, we conducted the training in October for the new cooperatives, and that was online. I was in the Netherlands, and farmers and agronomists, local agronomists, came to a hotel, and on COVID distance, they followed my training. Also, we made new fertilizing schedules. Every cooperative sent me the soil analysis reports. And just before the plants arrived a few weeks ago, we did an additional training for the people, for the farmers, who did plant the plants, the new plants. Also during planting, I was available whole week. It's easy when you have a telephone in your pocket, so when they need you, they can call you or send a WhatsApp. And so I was all the time standby for them. It was easy because it's only a 1 hour difference, the time. Next slide, please. Now, in the meantime, the 5 cooperatives, in the 5 cooperatives are more than 200 farmers involved with the project already. We still get a lot of support by the government from Rwanda. The Minister of State already visited the project 2 times. And we have many times we have contact with the advisor of the Minister of State. And that's easy because he's a former leader of the Agri-Terra team in Rwanda. For 2022, more spending is expected. So, yeah, but there is a lot of room for more strawberries in Rwanda because to replace the import of strawberries, at least 10 hectares is necessary. Now it's 1.5 hectare. Next year maybe 5 hectare. So there's still a lot of more strawberries is possible. Now with the remote coaching, as you see, it's possible to reach hundreds of farmers in Rwanda or even in other countries, I think. But in my opinion, I think physically visits are also necessary to keep the good feeling with the circumstances and for building relationships with the farmer. But I think the combination of both is the best. It's with remote coaching, Rwanda is only 1 click away from the Netherlands, so it's easy. For the future, the last slide, please. Yeah. For the future, I think the innovation is a necessary challenge, and we are already working on ideas for that. But it's not so easy like in the Netherlands if you want to innovate something, but because there is less infrastructure, there is less equipment available, so we have to be creative. Due to the local climate, the innovation is an opportunity also because for more resilience against crop diseases and also for better work conditions. The climate is warm and humid, so for plant diseases is also a good climate. We also think about self-propagating in Rwanda because transport of the plants is expensive. But the first trials, let's see, that's not so easy because the day length and they have no winter like we. So that makes the circumstances and much different from what we are used here. But I think with some technical improvements, modification of equipment, it's possible also to propagate in Rwanda, but we have to work on ideas for that. And it's very nice work to do. I'm happy I can do that work, and I hope I can travel back soon. So
thank you, Jan.
Something about my adventures in Africa.
Yes, thank you. It's a very interesting case because strawberry, of course, it's a high value product. Mm-hmm. And as rightfully people ask, is there a market for more also expensive Dutch varieties growing in a difficult environment? So we comes to the first challenge, let's say, which you also mentioned, of upgrading or leapfrogging agriculture in Africa, is the knowledge, the right varieties, the climate conditions, the logistics, and if the enough upscaling that can reach enough farmers that can grow, also capture the high value market, right? Yeah. So that's a topic I think it will be interesting to hear our audience, what they think about it. So Bianca, maybe you can show us the result of the first poll question, and then we ask the second poll question. Okay, so our audience are mostly interested in knowledge exchange and networking, and and good 1/3 of our audience interested in export of Dutch know-how and technology, just what Jan just introduced. Bianca, can you show us the second poll question? So when we answering the second poll question, I would like to introduce our second speaker, Victoria Matador. She is, I think she's on, yeah. Very exciting young woman, I think, from Africa, entrepreneurial and also very strongly minded in social development. She's the founder of African Farmer Story. And today she will also tell us about her experience of founding the African Farmer Story and what's the intention to achieve. Victoria, please.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. If it's possible for you to share your screen to present my slide, I would really appreciate that. So today I'll be talking about the African Farmer Story and the importance of agro-community in ensuring that we have a better trade relationship across Africa and internationally. The African Farmer Story is a community of farmers with over 3,000 members as of today, where we share the stories of resilience, grit, and innovation, local innovation of farmers in Africa. It goes beyond just the primary production. We also share stories about aggregators and processors, including those that provide insurance and financing for the sector. As of today, we will say that it is important for communities, agro-communities that currently exist in Nigeria to be a medium for which Africans' agriculture can blossom. For this reason, we in the African Farmer Story community, we have stimulated trade post the onset of COVID within members locally. In this trade, we've seen over 400 million naira worth of trade, which will be about a 1.5 million euro thereabouts as at 2020. In 2021, we've also seen collaboration steaming up. What does the role of agro-community do for us? For us, it is a means of getting viable data, share information about new technologies, better methods and ways of farming, proper record keeping, and stimulate trade. As advocates, we ensure that we teach and stimulate policy formulation in Nigeria. as of today, we are talking about stimulation of the drones, use of drones in agriculture. We have worked in partnership with various organizations, and we're still collaborating with organizations because we know that having a community alone is not enough. We need actions to stimulate that. And what are the kind of actions that we are looking for in the African farmer story is one that can address specifically the problem that these farmers have. Deploying new technology is usually a challenge in country because most times you have to do your own market survey or field survey before you can get the right data or right set of people to deploy those interventions. For this reason, we're saying, let us collaborate with other platforms to provide what we call agro-verified. Agro-verified can be a platform that will verify farmers and provide instant access to data that farmers and other organizations needs to access the farmers. What are the kind of data we would want to see? As of today, there is no organized data for farmers in Nigeria. Yes, SIGA is doing a lot when it comes to East Africa and some part of West Africa, but in Nigeria, all data that are available are owned by private organizations. There are no way for open source data. But with open source data, what will happen? We will be able to ensure that interventions like carbon credits, like trade between Nigeria and banana farmers or strawberry farmers, and other
Victoria? I think we have to give Victoria some time. We just lost for a minute. Okay, while we wait for Victoria, maybe we hope she can come back to the story again. Bianca, maybe you can show us the poll result for now. Okay, we have basically not many people are familiar with the African Free Trade Agreement, which Victoria also mentioned, and they will be addressed by Ikechi in the last presentation of intra-African trade. Is Victoria back? Not yet.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Yes, please continue.
Okay, my sincere apologies.
No problem.
So what we are looking at is with that database, interventions can be targeted and will ensure that there are things you can verify that your interventions is meeting the last mile, which is the farmer at this instant. Whatever solution you're providing, whatever financing, whatever technology.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I think we have still internet challenges. Okay, we understand that actually Victoria does have fiber optic, but still some disruptions. While I hope Victoria can come back in a minute, but let's maybe move on to our third speaker, Mayan, because I think from the unfinished presentation of Victoria, she already started discussing the importance of data. And she already mentioned one key issue that currently all the data is owned by private companies, and the importance of having the data for high value products like banana or strawberries that could complement this other piece of the agricultural development. So data with agronomy. So Mayan, can you were our last speaker during the third talk. So you already introduced your initiative on the True Code, digital identity. So without going into a lot of detail for our audience interested in the details of Marjan's presentation, you can watch back our last talk. But Marjan, please give your thoughts about the development shown by Jan Robben and also Victoria.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure. And with Victoria, you know, I think, why did I meet her before? Because this is what she tries to do is just fits like a glove. And let me explain why we started with the True Code Facility Passport, just in a nutshell, for those who have not seen the presentation last week. And that is that retailers and brands have more and more pressure from consumer organizations to deliver the true story, a story they can trust. And it's often very linked to what we call the first mile of the supply chain. So the farmer or the smallholder farmer. Because when it comes to deforestation, when it comes to paying a fair price for a product, so living income and living wage, it's all about the farmer and the smallholder farmer. And we came to the conclusion after being many years in collecting data for retailers who want to do storytelling to their consumers through a product, that we got stuck often by traders, but also a lot of time by cooperatives that partly did not have the data of their smallholder farmer, or were not willing to give it because they paid a lot of money and let's say time investment to get that supply chain, and they don't want customers to bypass them. And the fact that the people in the first mile do not have an identification, exactly like Victoria said, makes it impossible for retailers and brands who want to do storytelling to their consumer to do that, because they are missing the data. And there is this trend of going to a proven positive impact. So tell a story to the consumer with facts that are accurate. Well, if the majority of the issues are about the smallholder farmers or the farmers, you need an identifier. And we started with exploring existing options. We couldn't find it. And that started 2 years ago. And then we worked together with the Consumer Goods Forum, which is actually the branch representations of all the retailers and brands in the world. So all the big retailers like Walmart, like Carrefour, don't matter, they are all there. And they all came and say, we need a solution. Well, we still don't know if we let's say crack the nut but we are now almost 2 years on our road to try to solve this identification question, to deliver a free passport, especially for those in the first mile of the supply chain, but also address the sensitivity of data and the fact that cooperatives and brands do not want to share everything, and the fact that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, because there is so much data already there that the retailers and brands that want to do storytelling to consumers are looking for. It's already there. We have Global Gap. We have so many what we call existing repositories, databases that already are filled with the right data, with the right story. So I think it's a good moment to show you a little video. It's still a draft. We're still trying to finalize it, but in a nutshell to explain what we do, and then we can go back to you, Tiffany.
Every day, decisions need to be made when it comes to buying. Decisions are made based on the best available information, asking suppliers the right questions, and trying to get trusted answers back. Globalization has led to the creation of complex and dynamic supply networks. All actors in a network hold a piece of the answers, but they establish their own best way of storing their data. Some duly protect their verified data assets and business connections, which took a long time and effort to build up. The True Code Initiative provides standardized data taxonomy that leads to unique facility passports. It gets coupled with a free standard-based identification number, the True Code, easily added to existing location identifiers. Both help supply chain actors to make themselves and their dynamic data portfolio compatible and available for the True Code network without changing their established way of working. The concept comprises a powerful method to create a digital fingerprint for facility passports and their verified content. This digital token is securely stored on a decentral blockchain ledger that can provide verified answers without revealing neither the underlying datasets nor strategic business connections. It enables users to ask a co-designed set of critical questions to specific location or entire networks to obtain verified answers and make better business decisions. Welcome to True Code, connecting verified truth.
That was it in a nutshell. We tried to use what is already there and create a thin layer of taxonomy that enables existing data repositories to keep all the data to themselves. So don't try to reinvent the wheel, but with adding a simple taxonomy, allow interoperability and allow identification and question. And it's a bit too technical to go into all the details, but we tested it, it works. And we now will continue step by step to investigate how we have to do it. So that's just an attempt to help the growing need for data that can be trusted. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very, very exciting development, because an interesting question will be for your next step doing the user case piloting to how do you connect with the initiative like Strawberry in Rwanda with the cooperatives already testing high value product, which makes sense also to identify, give also fair pricing for the farmers, and with the larger upscaling with the African Farmer Story or other systems and networks. I think we probably can go into that discussion later after the presentations in our panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Tiffany.
So I would like to now bring up the third poll question. Oh, sorry, that's for the last one, sorry, mistake. I would introduce our last speaker, Ikechi Akbukba, if I pronounce correctly. Ikechi is Dr. Ikechi Akbukba, actually. He's now based in London with River State University. He's an agro-business expert. And you just saw our poll question that our audience are not very familiar with this potentially major development in Africa, this African Free Trade Agreement. So invited Ikechi today to tell us all about it.
Thank you very much, Tiffany, and the rest of the team. This is a very interesting topic, which has led to a lot of institutions, especially outside of Africa, to express fears with respect to Africa's African Union's decision to appoint countries of Africa, especially Sub-Saharan Africa, to sign an agreement bill. And that is why we are talking about it. So Africa Continental Free Trade Area, updates and journey so far. Of course, we know that the agreement was supposed to have been implemented in July of 2020. But as a result of the pandemic, it was shifted to January, and it has already kick-started. And then the operational guidelines favors issues touching on food and agriculture. For instance, in the deficient infrastructure, which touches on trade and services agenda, such as transport regulations. We know that in Africa we are having challenges with moving distribution of commodities from the farm gate to places where they are needed, even among countries. So we have regulatory cooperation as well, and then PIDA, which are programs for infrastructure development in agriculture. And then we have also non-tariff barriers, that is border-related measures, annexes on customs and border management, transit, customs cooperation, trade facilitation. Then also value chain development. Africa has not done well in value addition. So we have to strengthen value chain of commodities, especially for food and agriculture. Then also standards, quality assurance. Of course, we have they get into quality control, issues as well. Some of the commodities from Africa, is rejected at the borders of other countries that are not in Africa. So exportation from Africa is a challenge, especially with food, with organic crops. So now 54 countries of the SAA region, that's sub-Saharan Africa, they were supposed to sign the agreements that I earlier pointed out, but 31 Africa Union countries, they have deposited instruments for ratification. We will see that on the map shortly. But the core aim of Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is focused on the trade to place Africa at the path for industrial growth and development. And since it is directly proportional to economic transformation, and of course, this promotes African nations contributing to value addition in produce development and distribution. And okay, that takes us to the second slide. Okay, you can now see the countries of Africa that have signed the agreement. And then some issues touching on the trade, some issues that have been identified, not just by African Union, also by the World Trade Organization. And rules of origin, it becomes very paramount. And of course, the heart of this agreement, rules of origin where produce goods, especially focusing on agriculture, where they emanate from, which country produces it. So, and there must be an ascertaining of where a product originates, emanates, or flows from. Then secondly, is tariff negotiations. Tariff reduction in imports is an issue, and even tariff offers among African nations is still high. So about 11 sub-Saharan African countries have responded to this. Then also job creation, which is also an issue with respect to the fourth industrial revolution, which has to be part and parcel of the African free trade area. And without rules of origin, problems of transshipment, that is goods coming from the third world countries, which will in turn result to job losses. Hence, the agreement is aimed at job creation, fostering development and cutting off transshipment activities. And then proper negotiation has to be carried out, and not to rush into some agreements because of some sentiments being shared amongst the Africans in diaspora that Africa has been disadvantaged in the trade process, of course, in trading beyond borders, without proper designing of rules of origin, among other issues, as that would foster those programs that will help for infrastructural development in agriculture. That is PIDA now. Then digital issues and trade negotiations. Yes, we are in a time of digitization, but there are also questions of confidentiality among the nations, leaking of information among the African nations, because some information are supposed to be kept, confidential. Now, language issues, we know Africa is a home of multiple languages. Africa is multilingual, multicultural, multi-ethnic, and even multiracial. So African Continental Free Trade Agreement promotes a simultaneous translation of negotiation in 4 languages. So these 4 languages will help. And of course, English is amongst them, and also French. And then for the rest of the 2, I will tell you that when you consult me. There are legal issues as well. Virtual operations to trade in African Continental Free Trade Agreement is discouraged due to a WTO decision that there should not be any trade negotiation done virtually. So at that time, during the COVID-19, WTO had already, said that no trade issues should be done virtually. Of course, African Continental Free Trade Area intends to establish a regulatory framework, such as I've already mentioned that, and also the payment platform, the Lumia currency. Some persons do not know that there is a currency which has not really been, unanimously, agreed upon in the rest of Africa, but the currency is like a tradable currency among African nations, which of course, as in this ratification process going on, the currency will be used just like euro is being used in Europe. So for more efficient procedures and platform for trade, an affordable payment and settlement pattern, and less reliant on countries abroad. So, of course, that's part of it. Then let's look at, of course, focusing on supply chain activities, nature of landlocked countries. Africa is a continent which is comprised of many landlocked countries. Then supply chain trade among countries abroad. It ensures Africa's food security status, demanding that supply chains and trading among international countries be properly defined. AfCFTA intends to put a check on overdependence on global supply chains, as that would encourage and enhance industrial development. African countries should, whenever there is a disturbance at the supply chains. African Continental Free Trade Area establishes a regional value chain for productive capacity in Africa, establishing a manufacturing centers of excellence across the African continent. For instance, in the automobiles, where African countries can manufacture products in Africa, like there are countries that have actualized that, like Morocco. And so the agreement is actually encouraging that some multinational companies be established in Africa, and especially those that touches on agriculture as well. Then the AfCFTA does not intend to disconnect from global supply chains, but to encourage that. So you can see that fears about Africa cutting off from, of course, we have to integrate, as I will always mention in some of the webinar where I am asked to come speak, and to tell them and to clear that sentiment that this AfCFTA is trying to discourage international trade beyond Africa. No. So now major challenges and highlights. To develop a legal framework becomes very necessary. Backing and also backing it up, about 1.2 billion and about 2.5 trillion US dollars, considering the substantial markets, has been projected for that. And establishing a legal framework and partnering with investors to invest in Africa, like we are doing today, and conducting beneficiation of minerals, value addition and manufacturing, identifying as well as defining as enforcing trade activities and investment rules in Africa. note that our investors, whether African investor or foreign investor, would not want to see fragmentation of markets. So that is another role that we are supposed to play. We are supposed to ensure that our markets are not fragmented, because foreign investors, like from the Dutch today and other foreign countries, do not want to see that. So there is an ongoing foundation laying in the AfCFTA. And then there is need for adjudication. There is need for making decision of resolving of disputes, as this could lead to minimization of market fragmentation. When you harmonize trade rules in the sense of reduction of disputes, it actually enhances ease in trade. And then we have African Bank, which is also supporting this transaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ikechi, for a short but very concise explanation of this very important regional development. It's some ways if you represented the overall European understanding, it's quite telling that there's very little understanding of what's going on, which is very potentially one of the most important development in the continent and in the world. If you look at, for example, across to China, a recent major trade agreement concluded was between China and the ASEAN countries, 10 Asian countries, it's 11 countries. That's significant in terms of economic development in the region, but also for geopolitical reasons. The same applies for Africa. And here we're talking about 41 countries, a continent of more than 1 billion, actually closing will be 2 billion people by 2050, and then also called the last frontier of agriculture development, because currently the agriculture productivity in Africa is still rather low. It's 40–50% of GDP still come from agriculture, but in the next decades, there'll be huge, let's say, low-hanging fruit for agriculture improvement in the productivity. Therefore, it's significantly interesting, for example, China to look at Africa. And for that reason, it's very important, I think, for the West country to pay attention of what's going on and what are the major developments. So as you rightfully point out, the potential is huge, but challenge is also huge because of language, payment, currency. And then you mentioned the Lumia currency. There's also other cryptocurrencies now already eyeing the continent, precisely for that reason that Africa want to be less reliant on, let's say, the dominant currency like euro or US dollar. So that makes very interesting development of how that will evolve. And that would mean a lot in terms of trade, for investment, also for technology development across the continent. So thank you very much for giving us a very good and clear explanation of us to follow. I wonder if Victoria is already back, because if she's, yes. Bianca, can you please pull up our last poll question after Ikeshi's presentation? So the last poll question is to ask our audience, what do you think about this sentence of Africa being the last frontier on agriculture development on Earth, and whether digitization will fundamentally speed this up? If Victoria's back, I would like, since you couldn't finish your presentation, but I hope you already heard the presentation of discussion from Mayan, I would like to ask you as a response and discussion to the other panelists, and also continue your presentation of how do you see this true co-development, also the intra-African trade topic can be related to your initiative.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. Interestingly, I followed the video and when Mayan was speaking, it just sank in right. We definitely need a means of identifying and ensuring that the farmer, who is the major player in the food supply chain, is able to get all the credit that is required. In sharing the stories, most especially during the pandemic, we saw that there was a disruption of the supply chain. And most of the farmers were suffering because they didn't have access to the market. They're used to having aggregators of several layers between them and the market. With Mayang's solution, which is the identification, even if you have several layers of aggregators, the last mile consumer can always call the farmer to say, oh, through the identification number, please could you supply me this particular quantity or this particular product? And each farmer can set themselves apart with their unique identification and say, my product is unique to my passport, using Mayang's word. And the security of data is something that is exciting for me. A lot of people already feel that their information is all over the place, and they don't feel secured about what their data is used for. That you're going to present the True Code will give them access to information without divulging so much of their data is something that I also think myself and Mayang can talk more on and find a way to synergize our solutions together. For me, it's all about collaboration. Once we have the right data set, we'll be able to push the narrative that positively positions the farmer to take advantage of interventions that are around them and that will grow their business.
And if I may say something about it, Tiffany?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
That's it's security, but it's also ownership. You know, who owns the data of because the developments, as we spoke also in the last in our last session, now you have satellites, now you have cooperatives and traders who are going to trade in carbon credits. If we don't make sure that all the ones who actually are at the basis of calculating the credits, which are the smallholder farmers or the farmers, if they are not identified, the value of this carbon credit trade can also not end up in their pockets. And as Victoria knows, I mean, Jan is working in Rwanda. We are working for a retail client in Rwanda on coffee, and it's a washing station that represents 670 plus smallholder farmers. Half of them are illiterate, half of them do not have a cell phone, and half of them do not have a bank account. So you know what, this gives us challenges, and that's where I would love to talk with you a little bit further, Victoria, because we have some ideas on how you could do that. Also with people that are illiterate, do not have a bank account, and do not have a cell phone, and still you need to explain that the concept and that they are the owner of that passport, deciding what to share with who, as the whole concept is based on democratizing data, allowing the owner of the data to decide what to share with who, and how to explain that in simple words. How to, you know, I'm let's catch up after this event to work together, because this nut has to be cracked, and there always need to be the verification, which is in the next phase that is going to start in April. We will do a global rollout of the True Code in bananas, coffee, and soy. And in soy, it's deforestation. In bananas, is social compliance and living wage. and in coffee, it's carbon and living income. So we have some focus point to see how can we roll out the true code in because if we can do it in these three product groups, and there's a lot of interest from leading retailers and brands. So we just take it step by step. We just try to do it, but we can't do without people who have these experience on the ground to see how to do it best, how to do it explain it in a simple way to those who are illiterate, and how to explain this. Thanks.
Thanks, Victoria and Marjan, because you actually the great exchange, because you actually already introduced the theme we have in mind for our part 2. So for everybody now on our session, you are also invited automatically for our part 2 discussion, where we want to bring our discussion from part 1 into specific cases. And as Marjan, you already mentioned, we will focus on a current user case, banana. But indeed, the interest is to how do you upscale to other product groups, and also upscaling to a wider intra-African, also Africa international trading topic. So we would like to structure our part 2 discussion into a kind of roadmap, real discussion of cooperation roundtable. That's for everybody. We'll go in deeper. So before that, we also have our preparation together with everybody. So thank you very much for our 4 speakers. Maybe we can show the last poll result, Bianca, to see what our audience think about the future. Okay. So most people do agree digitization in the areas we talk about in information like climate data, in identification, currency trading will be the fundamental disruptive force for really realizing what Africa's full potential. And with that, I would like to also now, actually our presentation is finished of the panel discussion. We have questions from our audience, and I would like to just open up the microphone and ask our audience to speak your question, address your question. So I saw a first question from Nellika Venstra. Can you unmute yourself and then also ask your question? Nellika.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, please.
I put my question in the chat, and I already got my answers from Jan Robben. Yeah, there were some details on how the strawberries were being sold and distributed, how all of this was being arranged. And Jan already answered to it, but maybe he would like to repeat that.
I think that's an interesting question for other people as well. So what's the market for strawberries, indeed?
The market for the strawberries until now, because it's not a huge amount of strawberries, but they can all sell in the city, the bakeries, or in different cities. But it's still a small amount from the 5,000 plants. So I expect within 3-4 months they get more strawberries. So they need to find more customers. But I think it's not very difficult. But the strongness, the power they have is they work together in the cooperatives. Just one farmer is so very small, they cannot make a difference. So it's because they work together, they can work together and they can reach the market easily. They share the work. Some people are working in the field, others are selling the product, and together also they don't grow only strawberries. They also grow a lot of vegetables. So they can sell it together, of course. They don't have to go to the market with 5 kilos of strawberry, for example. They have different vegetables, and together they try to earn the money with the cooperative together. They work in good harmony together, I have seen.
So strawberry is one part of the Dutch horti-agri world, because of course in the Netherlands there's a wealth of knowledge in the overall agro-development, horticulture, variety seeds. Do you think there's enough opportunity into action? Is the Dutch sector, the agri-food sector, taking enough advantage of the opportunity to work in Africa? Are you the minority, or do you see it's growing? What are the challenges?
I think it's growing, and it's, I think, the experience we have as breeding company Flavorberry. Before we didn't have any experience in Africa, and now we learn that our varieties are also growing well in that climate and in that part of the world. So we think for the future we see Africa as a growing market, maybe as a big market in the future. Because after we started in Rwanda, there was some publicity, and we got different messages from different countries, from Mozambique, from Zimbabwe, from Nigeria. All they want to grow strawberries too. So, but first we have to do some experience in Rwanda, because we also have to learn how it works in that climate.
Yeah, great. I see comments from Will and Roland. I'll also just invite you to, if you want to give comment or ask a question.
Hi, Tiffany. This is Will.
Hi, Will.
Hi. Yeah, what I wanted to stress is that indeed it's quite relevant to finalize this discussion about the transparency of the ownership of data. And I think indeed the best way to deal with it is to work towards a model in which you allow the farmers, the smallholder farmers, to have the key of the data distribution. So it's in fact, of course, kind of shortening the chain by connecting the first mile with the last mile from out of authority in the first mile, instead of the actual way of thinking that the last mile dictates backwards towards the first mile. So I think a very relevant conclusion indeed of you is that put the emphasis on the first mile people, because they should be the owners of the data. They should allow transfer of data, and also they are the ones who can learn most for creating added value by having the data effects clear for themselves.
Clear. Also, thanks, Will. Will is agri-food expert from Royal Haskoning DHV, my old colleague. I have Roland and Memory. I will ask Roland to, I think your questions are addressed to Jan or others about your question. Jan, Roland, you still there?
Roland?
I guess he's maybe left, but it was a question probably back to Jan, is this cooperatives involves an exchange of purchase and advice, I guess.
Yeah, I read eggplant protection.
For example, plant protection, so beschermen.
Oh, for example, I thought eggplants. Those co-ops work together, and they also exchange the knowledge they learn, and it doesn't mean something different, but
I guess he's left, probably about whether they're also for marketing or so, but or it's only for growing. It's like the Dutch cooperative.
All the co-ops are connected, of course, with Agriterra in the Hortinvest project. So they all work together, and I think the knowledge and profit which is learned in one cooperative will be shared with other cooperatives.
Okay.
I have not seen any competition until now. Maybe when it's getting bigger, maybe it happens, but I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks.
This is Roland speaking. Yes, I was looking for my to unmute my microphone.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
You can turn on your video as well, so we can see you.
Let me see.
If you can find that button next to the video, next to the audio button.
Yes, here.
Yeah.
I think it's here.
Yeah. Hi, Roland.
Okay. Hi. I was wondering, my background is plant protection, and I know that in Africa, what I'm doing is I'm involved in a worldwide database that contains information on plant protection products and the details about that. And what we see in Africa is that we are lacking information from Africa because the regulations are not that strict as we do have in Europe or other parts of the world. And I was questioning myself a bit, how is this in Rwanda and other parts of Africa, and what could we possibly add to this part of the world, or could this part of the world add to our database by providing more information from the African countries?
You mean plant protection against diseases, or?
Exactly.
Okay. There are a lot of possibilities in Rwanda to protect against the diseases, but not the same as in Holland. But I have seen some fungal diseases can be a problem. But on the other side, I have seen in Rwanda is a lot of biodiversity. And about insects, for example, we didn't have any problems last year. Nature solved it by itself.
Wow.
And for the fungal diseases, protection by chemicals is. I think it's for the future is not a good solution, because the climate and the temperature and the humidity are so good for the fungal diseases. You can spray every week, for example, but it will not help. So that's why we think about innovation. When we can introduce other cultivation systems, then we can also solve a lot of that problems. And on the other side, the people will have then less work with removing weeds and easier work, because they have no winter, it's always summer there. So also weeds are growing all year. So
ideal conditions.
Yes, I would like to.
Conditions for growing are very good. Also for the strawberries, but we see the strawberries there are growing different from here, the same varieties, because that's because of the day length. That's the biggest difference.
We have already interest from Memory, who I think like to ask Memory to make a pitch to invite Dutch expert investors to come to Zimbabwe. Memory, and can you unmute and show your video, and then give you 2 minutes to make a pitch of why people should come to Zimbabwe.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Memory. I'm a young farmer in Zimbabwe. Hello. And I lead about 3 groups. We have got 10 provinces in Zimbabwe, and 8 provinces are arable. 2 are the big cities, and it's very, unless we are doing backyard garden. I've introduced backyard garden for those who stay in the towns, but we are talking about those who have got farms. I'm talking of young farmers who have got a capacity to do 10 hectares, 5 hectares, some going as far as 50 hectares. We've got young farmers who are doing bananas in the highlands there, for those who have been in Zimbabwe. And from the district that I come from, since I said I'm from, I just had to do some little bit of makeup. Actually, I've got some women doing some bit of garden here, as you can
Beautiful.
see there. I've got,
yes, beautiful background.
Some women here. Let me try to be closer. Yeah, I'm at the farm right now. I'm making use of my late brother's farm. And,
but maybe you try not to move, Memory. If you move, there's a lot of if you move, there's a lot of noise. So maybe try not to move too quickly.
Okay.
We don't hear you anymore. So thanks.
I see a lot of place for strawberries.
Okay, so yes. So what I was saying is that if we can have this opportunity here in Zimbabwe, we have got good climatic conditions, we have got good soils, we've got the water bodies, especially this year.
Oh.
The connection was great. It was really nice to see that the mobile internet and the video works. That that we can be so close, connecting all around the world. Zimbabwe,
Memory.
Morocco.
Sorry, Memory is one of our farmers in Zimbabwe. Okay. No, I was saying that Memory is one of our farmers in Zimbabwe, and she's also a politician. She has received a national award as one of the frontline farmers in Zimbabwe. I wanted to ask, to add to what Roland said. Well, I thought Jan will respond to the fact that Rwanda's agriculture sector has advanced with respect to getting funding from their government and attention from their country persons in diaspora. And there is a conference which Dick already knows about, and Cone as well, with respect to bringing in drone technology and artificial intelligence in Rwanda this year. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you.
Victoria wanted to make a comment earlier. Victoria?
Hi, thank you, Tiffany. I just wanted to say that to Mayan, that in terms of the indicators for the carbon credit, as the focus for her, is it just the banana plants and that she listed, or are there other criteria for these farmers to be able to have access to the carbon credit? As we try to buy off some data from the private sector, we want and make it open source. We want a situation whereby we can stimulate that conversation using the advantage of the carbon credit and ensuring that the farmers are able to key in onto the program. I don't know if she could explain more on that.
Yes, I can. So it's a new development. Let me start with that. And it's very early days, but you can see that one of the leading agro banks in the world, called Rabobank, have created a separate entity for this, calling also the Carbon Credit Bank of the Rabobank. And they are also in the startup phase, in a test phase, but they did a first carbon credit trade with large farmers from Australia. They have a certain formula for calculating net credits, and it was Microsoft who bought that carbon credits to compensate their negative carbon impact. The discussion that I'm having with the Rabobank structurally on this, so it relates to your question, is how can we work together to make sure that, because they are now moving to Africa, that the contract that you normally make for these credits, you do that with the trader or with the cooperative, related to the number of farms that are linked to that cooperative. But we know that the data quality is crap of those lists in average. I mean, at least the samples that I'm now doing on the list of smallholders farmers related to a cooperative so also Rabobank is aware that if this becomes bigger, that they need to assure that if there's a trade on carbon credits based on a claim from a trader or a cooperative that says, this is the number of smallholder farmers that belong to me, and with satellite data, pick the data, and it's not true, that's a big risk, that they can't afford that risk. So it's early days, and they are aware of this problem. And this is also why they want to start with, it's always a business relationship. Huh? That's very important to understand. So I think it's very difficult for you to come up to a bank and say, well, this is the number of farmers, or if there's not a accepted identification system. And I think this is also the opportunity that we have with smallholder farmers. And this is why we have to talk, Victoria, to connect the first project where the Rabobank is negotiating with an African trader or an African cooperative on this carbon credits deal. It has to come from a business flow. That's where because it's early days, and they will look for, on one hand, those who want to buy the credits, and on the other hand, those who want to sell the credits. So it will be kind of the business deal. And we are partners of the Rabobank also in this. They are very interested in a true code for the reason of credibility. So let's see where it takes us step by step.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because what we are trying to, the AgroVerified is trying to, will be projecting is verification of every farmer in Nigeria. So it's just syncs and aligns with the true code. And if I could just quickly digress, corn, I don't know if corn is still on the call. I think this will also work if we have that by farmer application all in sync with each other to have a robust platform that really works for every farmer.
And that's why Marianne is joining the My Farmer initiative. So.
Sorry?
Victoria is talking about, let's say we did an application for the Bill Gates Foundation, and apparently this asked you, so you're both into the same project.
Yeah, well, at least linked, I think. I don't know, Koen. I mean, then we have to dig into more detail, but it's...
We are linking, so we got something going on. So we work along. This one is on tomatoes, and I think we can also expand to other products.
Yeah, that would be good. And the one thing, Victoria, to just respond on what you say, what we've learned is if you want to have one platform, that's exactly the reason why we build it decentralized, because there is so much power in local databases, in local initiatives. For heaven's sakes, connect. Don't try to push everybody into one solution, because it for political reasons, for economical reasons, for whatever reasons, it just, we found out it didn't work. But still, you know, the need, and that's the world where I have the privilege to work in for the last 30 years of my life. The connection between the retailer and those who supply them. The retailer is closest to the consumer. The consumer wants more answers that are verified. Because if the story that is told by a retailer about an ultra-fresh product or a private label product, and the data is not correct, they have suffered the consequences of that. So they need verified data from identified sources. And the protocol, we have made a data model. It will be open for all. We are going to the website of the True Code goes live, and just for you to understand, I'm representing two companies that work for retailers and brands, collecting data, but this is a not-for-profit. It's open for all, and we want to give it and then move out, because this should be for the greater good. It should not. Nobody should, for the basic, nobody should earn money, because it has to be for free. In Rwanda, I don't know how you experience that, Jan, but the average farmer earns $150 a year for a father, mother, 4 children. It's not even if it's just, so this has to be for free, because if it will be a business model creating this free passport, it will go down. How can somebody who, and that's only one example. I mean, the majority of commodity crops, it doesn't matter if it's coca or coffee, or just go on and on, cotton. Everywhere where there are smallholder farmers, this is a problem, and it's systemic. It's a systemic issue, and this is just an hygiene factor. But it should be something, and I cross fingers we manage. I don't know, we just try. We just try to solve it step by step with the people that have the same drive, have the same passion to solve it, and use new technology to allow existing databases to have a small layer of a common language and just talk to each other, so that in the end, you have bottom-up development of those passports, which is easy. We tested it. But in the end, those at top-down, so the retailers and the brand who are closest to the consumers, they need a connected string of verified data from identified sources. So they don't want data which is not related to their products. They don't want it, because then it's a data graveyard. They don't want it. It should be related to the SKUs, so the products on their shelf, where they decided to do storytelling about. Yeah. So it's a journey. But I'm so happy we found each other, Victoria. So I'm grateful for Tiffany and
thanks, Marjan. Very, very passionate. It's a great energy. We also saw Memories give a very passionate plea also to invite attention to Zimbabwe. So I would like to ask of Jan, of Roland, of Marjan to respond to Memories on her in Zimbabwe. Jan, what do you think?
Now I'm unmuted. Yes, I heard the nice story of Memory, and she was from Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I hope we can also do something in Zimbabwe, and maybe Agriterra is also active in that country. But maybe by coincidence, this week I got a message from Zimbabwe for a project with strawberries. So we are already involved in Zimbabwe, but I don't know the details of the project. But yeah, I heard also already earlier that the climate is good in Zimbabwe for growing strawberries. Maybe depending of the area, maybe the highest fields, the higher above sea level, the better. So I think, yeah, and also I think the days are a little longer than in Rwanda. So that's also positive.
Oh, great. I see Memory is happy.
So, yeah, so maybe we can make contact.
Yeah, we can, that's the idea. We connect people who maybe already working in the same area, but now you know each other. Ikechi also brought the point back to what we also discussed the last time when we discussed Rabobank Carbon Bank combination with this African free trade development, that it will be entailing development of a digital hub where the Dutch embassies, Rabobank can work together to help actually the agriculture development, carbon trading, also social fairness and smallholder farmers. Will had a point to make. Will, do you still want to speak? I think we're about to come to the end of our session. We can ask after Will can have a last comment.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you. It's all right, Tiffany, that I.
Yes, please.
This is Will. Yeah. Yeah. What I was wanted to ask to Miriam is if you try to conquer this issue of this systematic problem. Does she then agree with the suggestion that I made that you should one way or another offer the smallholder farmers the key of this data distribution model? Is that something in the setup of the total plan that makes it possible to get this aligned? Because I think that also solves the problem of the retail with their risk of not telling the wrong stories. Is this in your plan? Does this fit in your plan, Miriam?
Yes, well, it does. And it's, we as I said, we first need to create a data model, and then we need to technology. And so we finished off the minimum viable product, and now we're going to start on phase 4, which is exactly on fair value distribution. Verified data of identified sources has a value. How are we going to, it's in the interviews that we did, and let's see how it goes. The retailers say, well, if we can have this in a simple way, it's worth money. Because otherwise, all the costs and efforts that we have to do to collect that money, if that's going to be easier, it's worth the value. And in the next phase, we are going to work on exactly that. And how can we get it back to those who have actually delivered those data? And we shortly, you saw it in the little video, we used blockchain technology that we worked with Albert Heijn and Plus and Jumbo on several products, bringing that connection from the consumer to the one who produces the product. But we took elements out of this because it's perfect for private public data. You can, it's perfect. It's suitable for exactly this. So let's try. But it's exactly in the architecture. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will keep in contact because I think from the Vietnam experiences, I also can connect some relevant.
Would be nice, Will. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Well, I think a lot of this topic raised today will go into deeper on our part 2 of the session. So here also again invite everybody to tune in on 2 weeks from now. And then the link will be shared shortly by Bianca. And basically our audience also, I think all the questions, comments are raised, and we are fruitfully come to the end of our today's session. So thank you everybody for joining and for your comments and participation. I'll see you in 2 weeks.